How are procurement organizations and suppliers using model-based definitions? We're going to look at some findings next. How are procurement departments using model-based definitions? Let's look at a couple findings. First off, though, let's talk about the situation. A lot of companies are looking at adopting model-based definitions for various processes, but a lot of executives have some hesitancy because they're not quite sure if their supply chain is ready, and they don't want to throw a wrench in current operations. So that's why a research study like this, which we conducted in the summer of 2018, is important. So let's take a look at some findings, and that'll give you some insight. So first off, what exactly are we talking about here? Really, we're talking about the quotation process, right? So the idea is that you take some of the engineering documentation that you have, you wrap it up in a technical data package, you provide that to the supplier, they then generate a quote using that. So that's the process. Now, in this study, we asked this question: what percentage of quotes are generated using the following customer deliverables? So, only 2 drawings, only 3D models, and some combination of the two. Now, as you can imagine, based on the answers, we are able to kind of categorize respondents accordingly. So, for example, if they answered like this, we know they're drawing reliant. If they answered something like this, well, we know they're using a combination of models and drawings, and we can categorize them correspondingly. Same thing with using a 3D model, only a 3D model in this case, no drawings. And then we get into some other categories where it's somewhere in between. And we've documented these according to these kind of definitions. So where are we at? What are the findings? So let's take a look. So current operating state. So this is what people are doing today. You can see 37% are really reliant on drawings today, meaning they don't use 3D models at all. They're generating quotes using those engineering drawings. You can see about another third, 36%, are using drawings and models, right? So this is kind of what you expect. There's, especially with tooling, especially with machining operations, you want to be able to get a quick idea of how long that's going to take the organization to actually make those parts. And then you see a scattering of other ones, and you can see model reliant is down there at 7%. So let's talk about this for a second. So, compared to like machining operations and tool design operations, generating quotes they have not been as reliant on 3D models for a while now. And you could say that those other organizations, machining and tooling design, are very 3D reliant today, even across the supply chain. So I think what you're seeing here is that they're starting to make the migration. They are definitely not there yet. So this is something to kind of take into account as you're thinking about rolling MBDs out to the supply chain. Now, separate question, how capable are these organizations today in terms of what they can do as opposed to what they are doing? So we asked a number of questions focused on what capabilities do you have in place, right? And so this involves, hey, dear people in your quoting department, can they open a 3D model? Can they interrogate a model-based definition? Is that part of your process? Do you have specific roles with certain skills? And what we found was we asked questions about those capabilities, and then we categorize them as being capable or not. So you can see how this breaks down in terms of a manual process, looking at an MBD and assessing the cost to generate for a quote. And then from an automated perspective, putting a part through an automatic costing process, and then using that for the quote. So you can see 34% are actually capable of an MBD-based process today, which is far higher than the 9% that we saw just a moment ago on the current operating state. And then when you look at the automated process, using software to estimate costs, that is pretty low, right? That's not something that's widely acceptable right now. So that's the overview in this study that we conducted overall, the model-based definition supplier study, readiness study. We did this for machining, for inspection, for instructions, a lot of different functional departments. This is the view on procurement, and you can get the rest by accessing the slides. That's it. Thanks for your time. Take care. Talk soon.